It's day 4 of the ANC's Eastern Cape Provincial Conference. After much delay, voting for the provincial chairperson finally took place early this morning. Oscar Mabuyane is going head-to-head with Babalo Matikizela. Now, results are expected to be announced sometime today. Aviwe Mtila is following developments and joins us now. Good morning again, Aviwe. When you spoke a bit earlier, and I listened in on your conversation with Andile Lungisa, it seems that what some are saying as perhaps this being somewhat of a conference that sets the tone for what should happen at national is not the case. Andile was stressing that they in fact have regional or provincial ambitions and they really don't want to address or enter into the space of what should happen nationally at the elective conference a bit later on in the year.
As you might say that, Mfundo, don't be deceived. What happens at the African National Congress's conference in the Eastern Cape will have a lot of sway when it comes to the December elective conference. Of course, it's sing-song just outside the ICC here, as currently the police are inside. They are sweeping. You can hear this song that they're singing now. They're talking about Uyoyika, which means that he's afraid. Earlier on, they were singing that Atetile Amasebe, meaning that the branches and the regions have spoken. Of course, that is following the nomination process that we saw yesterday, where Oscar Mabuyane and Babalo Matikizela are contesting for the chairmanship of the province. And the deputy chair is Polile Kompela, alongside Mlungi Simboko, contesting for the deputy chair. Provincial secretary Lulamanguka Itobi as well as Tembale Tuntutu have accepted the nominations to be the provincial secretaries, and Andile Lungisa as well as Zolile Williams have also accepted the nomination of being treasury. But of course, it wasn't without chaos. We saw two factions, one supporting Lubabalo Matikizela as well as the one supporting Oscar Mabuyane, basically saying that the other is trying to collapse the conference. This is, of course, around the issue of the credentials, where it was basically a stalemate, and those credentials eventually adopted around 11 p.m. late in the night. That's where then we saw the nomination process, and we were told that around 10 p.m. today we'd be expecting the top 5 leadership of the ANC to be announced, but currently we're seeing the police just doing a sweeping there. But of course the voting still continues, where the additional members of the Provincial Executive Committee are currently being voted for. I just want to actually catch up with some of these members on the ground here. I see Lunga from the Khubusana region, one of the leaders there. Putlunga, thank you for joining us at eNCA. I want your reflection on the nomination process, and just, I understand the Khubusana region is supporting Oscar Mabuyane. Are you confident that you have the numbers?
We are very much confident. Everything went well last night. Nominations went well. Voting went well. We anticipate now we will get victory for Mabuyane. Counting is going to continue early today. We get the results. But after that, we've got the results. We will urge each and every member of the ANC to unify under the newly elected leadership.
Just earlier on, I was speaking to Andile Lungisa, who suggested that there might have been manipulation even earlier going into the conference of the processes here in favor of Oscar Mabuyane. Are you afraid or wary of court cases that may come about after conference?
We've been down this road even in 2017. They went to court, we defeated them. It's going to be the same thing this year. What we've done, we've been thorough on the processes leading up to the conference. So if there's any threat of litigation, we will deal with it, because we know on our side we have been meticulous in terms of process.
Okay, I just want to catch up with some of these regions. I want to find out where they're from and who they are. Join up again, say, Ungubani wena uvela kweyiphi region and when supporta bani yakho?
Nginomdumiso Gwethe mna ngisuka eThozamile Gqwetha kwi-region eRhubusana, yi-delegate ngolulwe ibranch ukuze ndizophakamisa lento ithi Kulula Mabuyane. Ndikuloo nto nje mandilapha le ndiyibonayo uba kuyavakala uba ubuyile uMabuyane.
Yintoni ekwenza ucinga ubuyile uMabuyane?
zinumbers bhuti and abantu bakaMaria enze suwili wilizolo more than 5 hours ngoba babonile uba ayibavumi numbers sabe sibaninzi sithunywe lisebe.
Okay, kutwa manithathe nawe ubani wena uvela phi ubusapota bani uthini?
Igama lami ngu-PSD ndisuka kwa-Ward 45 Mathemba Vuso branch. I'm a branch delegate. Ndonyulwe lisebe. I'm a voting delegate. We believe ukuthi uComrade uMabuyane masimnike i-second term ngoba imisebenzi yakhe siyibonile apha e-Eastern Cape. There's so many projects eziqhubileyo apha, so unomsebenzi omninzi ekusafuneka ewenzile yabo. If it's not jonga ii-areas ezifana nePort Elizabeth kune-project ezinkulu eziziswe uComrade uMabuyane, so siyacela singamalungu uComrade uMabuyane simnike ithuba lokuthi agqibezele lo msebenzi umhle kangaka. That is why sivotele yena le voting yayizolo. Sizogqibezela lo msebenzi namhlanje simkhulule uComrade Mabuyane akwenza umsebenzi omhle. Sithi second term akabuye uComrade Mabuyane akabuye.
Second term, and you see the V signs there showing that these supporters are supporting the return of Oscar Mabuyane. I was even speaking to a lady earlier on, one of the voting delegates, suggesting that they had the numbers, even yesterday, suggesting that the Babalo Matikizela faction was trying to collapse the conference, given that they don't have the number. It's the same sentiment, in fact, Mfundo, that you'll get when you speak to the other faction as well, that they will tell you that the other faction was trying to collapse the conference. Hence, there was a thorny issue around the stalemate of the credential adoption. That we saw late into the evening, where eventually a consensus was reached and those credentials were finally adopted around 11 o'clock. Earlier on, I was speaking to Andile Lungisa, who's been nominated as the treasurer of the Eastern Cape here. Of course, he himself suggests that there might have been the manipulation of the processes. But of course, I asked him, you accepted the credentials yourself, but he still points quite pointedly that he's not even hopeful that he'll be elected here, given that there are those issues around the manipulation. So we'll talk to generally how the sentiment has been around this conference, with not even key issues discussed, where you're supposed to discuss the issues that are impacting these people behind here. That wasn't discussed at all. The main focus of this conference was around the adoption of the credentials. That stalemate, quite thorny issue, which was eventually adopted. But of course, we are told that after 10 a.m., I beg your pardon, we are expecting the top 5 leadership of the Eastern Cape province to be announced here, while the voting continues for the rest of the PEC members.
All right, Aviwe, that should be any time now. Just looking at the time, it's almost 10 past 10. So hopefully they will be addressing the media and actually stating even to the gallery itself as to who are those that have emerged victorious, or which slate, in fact, has emerged victorious. We'll most certainly catch up with you in a bit.